Hello, everybody. It's me, Anthony, and it's the time of the week again. It's Anthony's NFL Picks. Week 4. We are in the 4th week of the NFL, and already this season is already going by quickly. 3 weeks are already in the books, and my oh my, I had a better week this week because last week or following week I went 5-11 in week 2. Week 3 I actually went 8-8. I went over 5. I went 500 exactly on the dot. But anyway, I had a very good night last night, but we'll talk about that later. But before we jump in, I just want to let you know that please like the video, subscribe, and turn on those notification bells to get updated on my newest content. Please, because if you do, then I'll be very happy. But anyways, enough with this intro. Let's get started and jump right in. All right, starting things off, we have an NFC East matchup for Thursday Night Football between the 1-2 Cowboys and the surprisingly 1-2 Giants. Cowboys are here after almost winning over the Ravens at the very last second, 28-25. Ravens overcame them, and now they're 1-2. They lost 2 straight, both to the Saints and the Ravens. However, they're going to MetLife Stadium against the 1-2 Giants, who got their first win finally after beating the Browns in Cleveland, 21-15. To be honest, I think that Dallas is going to knock out New York because the Cowboys are known for beating the Giants. Because the Giants, Malik Nabers looked very good on Sunday, as I was hearing, because I was watching the Steelers-Charger game. But Malik Nabers did a very good job on Sunday against the Browns. And because of that, I don't think it's enough to beat Dallas, though. But I'm thinking the Cowboys are going to beat the Giants. Cowboys will beat the Giants 33-16. The Cowboys will finally end their 2-game losing streak and will be 2-2. The Giants will be 1-3. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 0-3 Bengals and the 1-2 Panthers. Bengals are here after losing yesterday to my Washington Commanders. Yeah. However, they're going to be away in Carolina against the 1-2 Panthers, who won their first game of the season and of the year and beat the Raiders 36-22 after benching Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is looking a little bit better, though, but I don't know if they're going to beat Cincinnati because Cincinnati's very mad about what happened yesterday, which I was not. But to be honest, I think the Bengals will finally win a game finally by week 4. I think they're going to finally beat Carolina and get that season back on track. Joe Burrow is an amazing quarterback. Jamar Chase is amazing. T. Higgins played still. But I think Cincinnati is going to win this game and finally end their 3-game losing streak. Bengals will beat the Panthers 24-17. The Bengals will be 1-3. The Panthers will be 1-3 as well. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got an NFC South matchup between the 2-1 Saints and the 1-2 Falcons. Saints are here after losing that game at the last second to the Philadelphia Eagles. They completely lost that game. They were winning 3-0 like at the end of the third, and the Eagles came back and won 15-12. They're going to be in Atlanta this week and against the Falcons, who almost beat Kansas City but lost 22-17. Kirk Cousins is having a hard time, mainly because they were playing the Chiefs. The refs always bail them out. But I think New Orleans is going to beat Atlanta because the Saints are a better team and the Falcons are kind of, old team. It's just, the Falcons have a great running style because of Drake London and, Kyle Pitts. They have a lot of good weapons, especially Bijan Robinson. However, I just don't think that they're going to beat New Orleans because New Orleans is very mad about what happened. So I think they're going to beat the Falcons. It's in Atlanta, though, but I still think New Orleans is going to take this win. Saints will beat the Falcons 28-10. Saints will be 3-1. The Falcons will be 1-3. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got an AFC South matchup this time. This time it's against the 0-3 Jaguars and the 2-1 Texans. Both teams are coming back from losses. The Jaguars are here after getting completely annihilated by Buffalo last night, 47-10. I think Doug Peterson is going to get fired this season, because they're 0-3. If they lose to the Texans, Doug Peterson is no longer going to be that Jaguars coach. But they're in Houston as well. That's a huge, big disadvantage for Jacksonville, especially to the Texans, who completely got clobbered by the Minnesota Vikings 34-7. Well, Joe Mixon was kind of hurt. Joe Mixon missed the game due to an ankle injury, and I don't know if he's coming back this week. And also, Tank Dell is questionable as well. This is not good for Houston. However, it's against Jacksonville. It's going to be a very easy game, and I think Houston is going to pull off this win and beat Jacksonville. Texans will beat the Jaguars 31-13. Texans will be 3-1. Jaguars will be 0-4. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 1-2 Broncos and the 2-1 Jets. The Broncos are here after completely beating up Tampa Bay, upsetting them 26-7. They played an amazing job. Bo Nix looked really good, and I don't even know how they beat the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay of all places. But they're going to New York, MetLife Stadium against the Jets, who are 2-1 after completely knocking out New England 24-3. I thought it was going to be a close game because the Patriots played very good the first 2 weeks. However, I think the Jets are going to play very well, and I think they're going to continue that winning streak and knock down Denver. Jets will beat the Broncos 27-20. The Jets will be 3-1. Broncos will be 1-3. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got an NFC North matchup, and this is going to be a really good game, depending. We got the undefeated 3-0 Vikings and the 2-1 Packers. The Vikings are here after upsetting and destroying the Texans 34-7. Sam Darnold looked completely amazing there. He's looking amazing, but I don't know if they're going to continue that streak up because, again, they're going to Green Bay against the Packers in Wisconsin. Jordan Love may return finally this week after missing the first 2 games now because of that injury he suffered in week 1 against the Eagles back in September in Brazil. I think that this is going to be an upset of the week. I think the Vikings will lose to Green Bay, mainly because the Packers played so great with Malik Willis. They beat the Colts and the Titans. They were very easy games, but I think they could beat Minnesota because they're at Lambeau Field. So it just makes sense for me to say the Packers are going to beat the Vikings. Packers will beat the Vikings 30-23. The Packers will be 3-1, and the Vikings will end their undefeated season at a 3-1 record. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, and speaking of undefeated teams, we got the undefeated 3-0 Steelers and the 1-2 Colts. Steelers are here after beating the Chargers 20-10, mainly because the Chargers were banged up. Justin Herbert was injured in week 3 against what team? I forgot the team he beat week 3. I have a lot on my mind, so I've been watching football though, but still. I think that the Steelers are going to beat the Colts because the Colts, they played very good against the Bears, however, but Anthony Richardson went a little too deep sometimes, like to run the ball. But he's a very good quarterback. I want to see more of Anthony Richardson. I didn't see that much of him because of last season, because of that shoulder sprain injury back in October. But I don't know if they're going to beat Pittsburgh because Justin Fields is really changing that team right now. They look a lot better, and I'm thinking that Pittsburgh's going to continue that winning streak and beat down Indianapolis. The Steelers will beat the Colts 19-7. The Steelers will remain undefeated at 4-0. The Colts will now be 1-3. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 1-2 Rams and the 1-2 Bears. Battle of 1-2s, and actually 1-2 teams are actually going to be a lot this week, so be aware. But anyway, we got to battle these 2 teams. The Rams are here after upsetting and coming back against the 49ers 27-20. Matthew Stafford looked really good, and they did this without Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua, so that's a huge thing. But however, the 49ers had a lot of injuries. Like George Kittle was out, Deebo Samuel was out, Christian McCaffrey is out, Brock Purdy is questionable. We'll get to them later. But they played an amazing job. They're going to go to Chicago against the Caleb Williams Chicago Bears, who lost to the Colts, very close game, 21-16. However, I think the Rams are going to continue that 2-game winning streak, and I think they're going to knock down the Bears. Rams will beat the Bears 21-16. The Rams will be 2-2. The Bears will be 1-3. We move on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got a pretty good game. It's a battle between the 2-1 teams, the 2-1 Eagles and the 2-1 Buccaneers. One team is coming back from a win. The other is coming back from a loss. The Eagles, they're here after coming back against the Saints, winning in New Orleans 15-12. Played very good, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. However, they're in Tampa Bay. They're in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers, who lost to Denver at home, of all teams. But I think it's going to be a close game, though, because Saquon Barkley is a really good running back, even though he gets banged up a lot. He was great with the Giants. He's doing okay as the Eagles, but still, this is very early in the season. It's only we're going only into week 4, but we don't know what's going to happen. But to be honest, it's going to be a very good game, though, but I'm going to say the Buccaneers are going to beat the Eagles. Buccaneers will beat the Eagles 33-31. The Buccaneers will be 3-1. The Eagles will be 2-2. We move on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got another 1-2 matchup between the 1-2 Patriots and the 1-2 Niners. Both teams are coming back from losses. The Patriots are here after getting knocked out by the Jets Thursday night, 24-3. We get to see some Drake May magic a little bit after Jacoby Brissett got out of the game. Drake May did all right, and they call Aaron Rodgers the GOAT after the game, but still, they're going on to Levi Stadium against the 49ers, who completely choked that game. If they would have gotten that field goal by Jake Moody in the fourth quarter, they would have probably won the game. However, the 49ers have a lot of injuries still. Christian McCaffrey's not returning until the 20th of October. It's just not looking good for the 49ers. They're just really banged up. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Vikings. It just does not look good for the 49ers this season. I don't think they're going to be going this far because of these injuries. And this is what got them after Super Bowl 54. They had a lot of injuries in the 2020 season where they completely went 6-10. But I think the Niners are going to win this game only a little bit because the Niners are a really good team and they're in Levi Stadium. So it just makes sense for them just to knock the Patriots down by a little bit. 49ers will beat the Patriots 23-14. The 49ers will be 2-2. The Patriots will be 1-3. We move on with their next game. Coming up at our next game, we got my 2-1 Commanders against the 1-2 Cardinals. Hail to the Commanders. Yeah. I am very happy about what happened last night. 38-33. Very close game. That was really heart-stopping for me. I was really happy they won. I chose the Bengals, though, but still, my Commanders are 2-1, and we somehow lead the NFC East. Jaden Daniels looks like he's the answer. We go from Sam Howell, who was completely and utterly garbage last season. Now he's with the Seahawks, to Jaden Daniels. However, I don't want him to turn out like RG3, Robert Griffin III, who did really good in the rookie year. However, a lot of injuries got to him. I really hope that doesn't come down to that. But we're going to be in Arizona against the Cardinals, which I don't think the Commanders are going to win this game. Because the Cardinals are a really good team because Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great wide receiver. His father is a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's actually his son, Marvin Harrison Sr. He was with the Colts with Peyton Manning, and that's his father. And now his son is on the Cardinals, and he did really good against the Lions. They almost won that game 20-13. But they're back at home. And they're taking on the Commanders, my team. But I think the Cardinals are going to beat the Commanders. Mainly because I don't believe in my Commanders this early in the season. But I think Arizona's going to beat the Commanders. Cardinals will beat the Commanders 30-20. Cardinals will be 2-2. Commanders will be 2-2 as well. Which I don't really mind. But we're moving on with the next game. Coming up at our next game, we got a pretty good game. We got an AFC West matchup between the 3-0 undefeated Chiefs and the 2-1 Chargers. Chiefs are here after getting bailed out by the referees yet again. 22-17 in Atlanta against the Falcons. They won that game. They were on and off. They were losing the game in the first quarter, 7-0. Then they came back and won. And they're doing this without Isaiah Pacheco. He is not returning until the 20th of October after suffering a fibula injury week 2 against the Bengals. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also going to be coming back on the 7th of October for Monday Night Football. However, they're going to be in LA against the Chargers, who have a lot of injuries. Like, they lost to the Steelers because Justin Herbert was banged up from that ankle injury. Joey Bosa got off the field in Pittsburgh. It just does not look good for the Chargers. However, they're in LA, though, but I still think Kansas City is going to win this game because the Chiefs are slightly better because, Kansas City is a very good team. But I think that they're going to split the series possibly in the nearby future. We got to see what's going to happen. But I think Kansas City is going to beat the Chargers. Chiefs will beat the Chargers 22-19. The Chiefs will remain undefeated at 4-0. The Chargers will go on to be 2-2. We're moving on with our next game. Coming up at our next game, we got the 1-2 Browns and the 1-2 Raiders. Both teams are coming back from embarrassing losses. The Browns they're coming back here after losing to the New York Giants. Deshaun Watson looks really bad right now. And Nick Chubb is actually coming back week 5, and David Njoku is finally going to be coming back this week after suffering an injury. However, they're going to be in Vegas against the Raiders, who lost to the Panthers because Andy Dalton was starting. The Red Rifle looked completely amazing. He looked like Patrick Mahomes. Maybe I'm talking too much, but he looked a lot better than Bryce Young because Bryce Young was rushed. This is a lesson that I learned while watching football. If you draft a quarterback in the first round, you got to let the little draft pick grow a little bit. Because the Panthers didn't do that with Bryce Young. They just went to Bryce Young immediately. And Jaden Daniels, same thing. However, the Patriots got Drake May in the first round in the draft, right? And Jacoby Brissett started because Drake May is going to be learning underneath him. He's going to mentor him. He's going to teach him, coach him. And, if Jacoby Brissett ever retires or goes to another team and Drake May starts to, start, he knows what he's doing. That was the issue with the Panthers. But the Raiders, they're here after losing to that Panthers team. And they're looking really angry, though. But I think the Browns are going to pull something off and beat the Raiders. But it's going to be a very weird game. It's going to be a close game as well. So I'm going to have to go with the Browns. Browns will beat the Raiders 25-22. The Browns will be 2-2. The Raiders will be 1-3. We're moving on with our next game. Coming up at our next game for Sunday Night Football, we got the undefeated 3-0 Bills and the 1-2 Ravens. Bills are here after annihilating Jacksonville yesterday, 47-10. They're doing this without Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and their best linebacker, and Matt Milano. I think he's linebacker, but Matt Milano is out until the 1st of December. They're going on to Baltimore against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, who beat Dallas and almost blew that game 28-25. They were winning 28-6. But still, I think the Ravens will finally beat Buffalo because it's in M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore. I think the Ravens will upset Buffalo this week, and I think it's going to be a close game. Ravens will beat the Bills 37-34. The Ravens will be 2-2. The Bills will be 3-1. We're moving on with our next game. Coming up with our next game for Monday Night Football, we got two doubleheaders for Monday Night Footballs in a row. Our first game matchup is going to be against the 0-3 winless Titans and the 1-2 Dolphins. Titans are here after losing to Green Bay 34-14. Will Levis is really struggling in the Music City right now. They're going to be going to Miami against the Dolphins, who got completely beat up by Seattle 24-3, mainly because Tua is out with a concussion and he will not be returning. I don't even know if he's going to ever play a game of football again, but if not, then they're in trouble. But I think that the Dolphins are going to probably lose this game, I think. I think Tennessee will not lose. They're going to win against the Dolphins. It's going to be a close game, though, because the Dolphins are very banged up still. They have a lot of injuries. They don't look too great, but they got Tyreek Hill, though. That's a little concerning to me because, again, Tyreek is a very good wide receiver. Or, we got to find out. But I think Tennessee is going to probably win this game because of the amount of injuries the Dolphins are still suffering. Titans will beat the Dolphins and finally get their first win of the season, 14-3. The Titans will be 1-3. The Dolphins will also be 1-3. And we're moving on with our next game. And last but not least, when this is a very good game for Monday Night Football, they saved the best for last. We got the undefeated 3-0 Seahawks and the 2-1 Lions. Seahawks are here after winning against Miami 24-3. They are 3-0 underneath without Pete Carroll. Mike McDonald is doing an amazing job in Seattle right now. But they're going to Detroit against the Lions, who won against the Cardinals 20-13 after losing to the Buccaneers week 2. Jared Goff looks amazing. However, Sam Laporta is questionable with an ankle sprain injury he suffered in Arizona. But I think Detroit will win over the Seahawks. Lions will beat Seattle 26-23. And that is it for this week, everybody. These are all my NFL picks for week 4. Tune in next week for Anthony's NFL picks week 5, which will be premiering next Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. This is Anthony signing off, and have a great week.